I've been revisiting my choral piece, Four Sacred Songs, which I wrote in 1990 for the Essex Baroque Choir, and it was first performed at St James's Church, Piccadilly, London. It's a setting of four poems by Thomas Campion. Now, Thomas Campion was a lutenist composer and poet, and he wrote these poems to set to music himself. They're wonderful poems and they really convey a wide variety of emotions, and I picked them for that reason. They are called Sacred Songs, that's Campion's own title, and they do all have a religious element to them, but I think that they actually work really well in the concert hall. Because these are poems of the 16th or 17th century, and because I was writing them for a choir called the Essex Baroque Choir, I suppose I've found myself naturally moving towards Renaissance and Baroque techniques. So in the first song, Tune Thy Music to My Heart, the main theme is treated canonically. First of all, just with the sopranos and altos, with the altos a fourth lower, and then later on in all four voices in canon. Also, there's one point where I've actually got the tenors singing the same tune but in much slower notes, and the bass singing even slower notes. I think I must have been looking back even further to medieval techniques there. So after this happy and lively movement, the second movement is much slower and sorrowful in mood. It's called Out of My Soul's Depth. The words begin, Out of my soul's depth, to thee my cries have sounded. And here I wanted to really exploit the texture of the lower voices to help achieve that. So at the beginning, the voices enter gradually, starting with the basses, and it's some time before the soprano climbs to the higher register. The words are very dramatic, and I use some quite rich, almost jazz-inspired harmony with false relations and things to try to get that effect. And for most of the movement, the voices are in 6 parts with the altos and basses divided. But there's one moment towards the end where the words go, In the mercies of our God who lives secured, may full redemption rest in him assured. And at that point, the texture becomes simpler and just in 4 parts. The third movement, Most Sweet and Pleasing Are Thy Ways, is much more light-hearted, almost naive poem actually. It begins with the words, Most sweet and pleasing are thy ways, O God, like meadows decked with crystal streams and flowers. And I've given that just to a solo soprano and a solo alto, supported by an ostinato in the other sopranos and altos. But then the mood changes. The words go, The wolf his young ones to their prey doth guide, the fox his cubs with false deceit endures. And rather obviously perhaps, I've given that to the men to sing, mostly in parallel thirds and fifths. And then after that, he goes back to the ladies at the end, singing about paradise. At the first performance, my wife Jan sang the alto solo, and so it's been a lovely experience for me to revisit the recording. The last movement sets what is probably one of Campion's most well-known poems, Never Weather Beaten Sail. That poem, and Campion's musical setting of it, has been in my head since I was an 11-year-old, because at my school, the school choir always used to sing Campion's setting of those words on Tuesday evenings at the end of the school day from the gallery of the school hall. It's in simple 4-part unaccompanied harmony, and I think the music was in the hymn book, Songs of Praise. My setting is without doubt inspired by my memory of Campion's own setting, although it's different, of course, and it has a very simple beginning, but the textures become richer and more complex later on. So not only have I stayed fond of the Campion setting, but I've also become fond of my own setting too, if I'm allowed to say that. In fact, the recording of my setting of Never Weather Beaten Sail was played at both my mother's and my father's funeral, so it means a lot to me. So that movement can easily be used as a standalone piece. You can buy the score of 4 sacred songs and also the last movement on its own, Never Weather Beaten Sail. You can buy these separately as a digital download from Sheet Music Plus, or you can order printed copies directly from me. The details are on this video. There's also a scrolling score video of the piece on YouTube, so you can listen to it right the way through and follow the music. So I've enjoyed revisiting this piece after over 30 years, and I hope that you might enjoy it too.